So it is said that it is not what happens to you that matters, but it is how you respond to that thing which matters. Hello everyone, myself Manan, and today I am going to review a book called Anatomy of Illness as Perceived by Patient by Mr. Norman Cousins. Now I would like to first, before going into the book, tell you about the author, who is Norman Cousins. As the book title reveals, he is a normal person, not a doctor, or doesn't belong to a medical field, but he is a person who was a professor who was writing in a magazine in US. He was a professor of psychiatry and also behavioral science in University of California, Los Angeles. And this book is about his real life story and what he has learned after that. Going into deep, the story begins in 1964 when Mr. Norman Cousins goes to USSR for some study or some practice point of view. And when he goes there, after 1 week, when he returns back to US, he has a fever. He starts with a very low fever, so he ignores it. Within 1 week, he finds that all his body parts are aching. His ankle, his wrist, his legs are aching. He's not able to understand why. But he again ignores it, and slowly and gradually the pain is becoming unbearable. So then he thinks, let me go to an hospital. So he goes to an hospital, and there, after many tests, it is recognized that there is an issue of collagen. It is a disease related to connective tissues, and collagen, for your knowledge, is a fibrous substance which connects our body parts. So he has the deficiency, and so he is told by the doctors that you have a chance of 1 amongst 500 people to live. So he is extremely shocked because he has never got any injury and all those things. But then his medication starts in hospital. There are a lot of tests going on in his body. At a time, he has to eat a lot of painkillers. So in a day, he was eating 26 painkillers just to control or suppress that pain within himself. So he is a bit perplexed and sad. But luckily, when he goes to an hospital, there is a physician known as Mr. William who happens to know him. And he has the opportunity to interact with him. So he says to Dr. William that, Dr. William, the medication I am going through, I'm not very convinced, or can I suggest an alternative way of what I have learned in the books, various medical journals I have learned. So they start discussing, and at that time he says that, why not I try, instead of aspirin, which is a painkiller he was using, why not I try vitamin C? Now vitamin C is to be given like a glucose in a bottle drip, because he cannot move the things. So why cannot I try that? Because vitamin C has no side effects. So the doctor says, look, there is no proof of this being very successful, but of course there is no harm, so we can try. So he says, I have 2 things which I want your help. First is changing that medication, and second, and the most important thing which I feel, is changing my stay in hospital. He says that the environment in hospital itself is making me more ill. So he said that you see the negativity in the face of the people, and you yourself don't get that enthusiasm. So he said that, can I shift myself from an hospital room to a hotel room with all these facilities? I'll have the nurse and all those things. So they agree to this. Now at that time, he had, before going to hotel, he had also tried removing the consumption of painkillers. But then he found that as soon as he removes that, he feels so much pain as if some truck is moving over his body. So he was conscious that I cannot remove the painkillers. But then the second thought was that if I continue with this painkiller, there is a side effect, and I'm feeling the itching, like thousands of ants are just chewing my skin, and that sort of feeling. So both were unbearable in one sense or the other. But then with the help of the doctor, he goes to a hotel, and then he says to the doctor, now medication is good, vitamin C, but I think I need to enjoy. So please, he makes a list of the various comedy movies which he would like to see. He says that I would like to sit here on the bed and just watch these movies. So he says that, doctor says, what would happen? He said, let me enjoy, because I have read humor is the greatest medicine. So with that, they start this sort of a therapy. Within 8 days, he finds that due to the 10 minutes of genuine humor, so when he laughed out his heart out in 10 minutes, which was equivalent to 2 hours of genuine peaceful sleep. And this is not an observation, but this was recorded through a machine. And that gave him the confidence that on which path he was there, it is right. And there is no side effect. So this goes on, and with 8 days, there is considerable relaxation in his pain. And later on, it took many months for him to completely overcome that situation, but he could do it. And then he went back to his normal life, studying and all those things, teaching in the universities. So this was his life story, and based on this book is written. So there are 6 chapters in this book, where the first chapter deals with his story, and then the remaining chapters he has told or narrated his observation. So in medical field, the second chapter deals with the miracle of placebo. In medical field, placebo is known as a thing. If you have heard, doctors, if you go to doctors, डॉक्टर आपको गोली देंगे. काफ़ी बार वो गोली का इम्पैक्ट बिल्कुल नहीं होता है, बट हम लोग, वो डॉक्टर गोली देता है इसलिए हमें अंदर कॉन्फिडेंस आ जाता है कि हाँ, ये डॉक्टर ने गोली दी है तो मैं ठीक हो जाऊंगा. तो वो जो हमारा मेंटल स्टेट ऑफ माइंड है, जो हमें कहता है कि अब मैं ठीक हो जाऊंगा ये गोली खाने से, दैट इज़ नोन एज प्लेसिबो. सिंपल टर्म्स में हम लोग, इमिटेशन ज्वेलरी होती है जो ओरिजिनल नहीं होती बट ओरिजिनल जैसी लगती है, और लोग वो देख के खुश हो जाते हैं, तो उनका स्टेट ऑफ माइंड चेंज हो जाता है. वही चीज़ is known as placebo in medical terms. So he gives an example of the power of placebo, where he says that today we are living in a world wherein the only tangible thing is the placebo, where people do not recognize the intangible thing. People think that oh, इसको कुछ बीमारी है तो कुछ बाहर का ही impact होगा, germs, bacteria, virus, गोली खाएगा ठीक हो जाएगा. But they do not understand the power of a human body and its capability of improving itself. So ये उन्होंने सेकेंड चैप्टर में कहा है. अगर आप लोग टीवी भी देखते होंगे तो टीवी में एड्स आती हैं निकोटेक्स की, which is similar to a nicotine, which is one of the ingredients people consume while smoking. So जिनको स्मोकिंग रिमूव करना है उनको डॉक्टर्स प्रिस्क्राइब करते हैं कि निकोटेक्स लीजिए आप. निकोटेक्स इज अ सॉर्ट ऑफ अ च्यूइंग गम. That is a placebo because you get the feeling you are smoking, but you are not smoking, and it is friendly to the health. So ये एक example है. Next chapter में वो कहते हैं about laughter and being healthy. अब हम सब ने सुना होगा कि it is good to walk in the morning, good to run and all those things. But he says that laughter is actually yourself jogging internally. So when you jog internally, when you laugh, you are actually jogging internally, and your muscles and all those things are having the movement. And that is actually enhancing all your antibodies, and it gives you that necessary will and enthusiasm to live your life. Next, he gives an example of pain, and this is the most crucial thing which I found in this book. He says that pain is sometimes your greatest friend. He gives his own example that, look, I was suffering, and people eat painkillers because they don't want to suffer. Immediately suppress the pain. But then he gives the example of sports person. While you are playing, sometimes you fall, sometimes you have pains. Now, if you ignore it and you take up some sort of magic spray or something, the pain would get suppressed. You will find I'm okay. You will start playing or do another activity, and later on, it would exaggerate. आपको और दर्द होगा. So he says that sometimes what is pain? Pain is the natural way of body giving you a signal that there is something wrong, which is common to all of us. And let us do now steps to overcome that. तो हमें पेन को सप्रेस नहीं करना चाहिए. वी शुड एक्सेप्ट द पेन एंड मे बी इन अ नेचुरल वे ट्राई टू ओवरकम दिस. तो ये उनका नेक्स्ट चैप्टर था. एंड फाइन, फिफ्थ चैप्टर इज ऑल अबाउट होलिस्टिक लिविंग, जो आजकल बज वर्ड है. बट व्हाट ही सेज होलिस्टिक लिविंग, he says that holistic living is not only about medication but on a day-to-day life. How do you live your lifestyle in a way that you are happy and the people around you are also happy? So आप जैसे behave करते हो, जैसे आपकी lifestyle है, that forms a holistic living. Not only the disease, when you come to a disease or an illness and then you follow the holistic living. और फाइनल चैप्टर में इन्होंने कहा है कि when he recovered from this, he shared his experiences. Now this book is based in 1976 of then USA. और वहाँ पे भी इन्होंने काफ़ी अच्छी बातें कही हैं कि आजकल मेडिकल फील्ड में इट इज़ मोर ऑफ अ कमर्शलाइजेशन. तो उन्होंने उस वक्त भी कहा है कि इतनी एड्स आती है पेन किलर, बाय दिस पेन किलर, दैट पेन किलर, कि लोग, इट इज़ बिकम अ मोर ऑफ अ प्रोफेशन देन अ सर्विस. तो he wrote his experience and he got more than 3,000 letters from doctors and different patients that आप आपकी स्टोरी को एक बुक में लिखिए ताकि बाकी लोगों को मिले. अब काफ़ी letters he has mentioned that were also not positive because they said that look, this can be an accident, because again using vitamin C in place of a painkiller is not a proven thing. This can be an accident, you are one of the chosen one, you are lucky. So he also got this type of letters, but he thought that yes, let me share my story in a book so that others get some sort of guidance if they want to use a natural way to recover. What are the key takeaways जो मुझे इसमें book में लगे? And again, why this book or how I came to this book is when I went through one of the YouTube video of Dr. B.V. Hegde. Now, Dr. B.V. Hegde ji is a Padma Bhushan in 2010 and is also a Padma Vibhushan in 2021. He is a cardiologist himself, और वो how to recover yourself in a natural way, उस पे काफ़ी चीज़ें बताते हैं. So he has prescribed to read this book, and this is how I came to know about this book, and then I got this book and started reading it. तो इसमें काफ़ी चीज़ें कहा है, जैसे कि डिसीज टुडे इन टुडेज वर्ल्ड वी डू नॉट क्योर द डिसीज बट वी क्योर द पेशेंट एंड द साइकोलॉजी ऑफ द पेशेंट. एंड ही हैज पुट इन वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग वर्ड्स दैट नो पर्सन इन दिस वर्ल्ड, इवन अ डॉक्टर, हैज़ दैट कैपेबिलिटी टू कन्विंस और कॉन्फिडेंटली से दैट यू कैन नॉट रिकवर. It is you and yourself only who will decide. If you have the will and necessary enthusiasm about the life, you will overcome that. It may take time, but you can overcome that. And the relationship between a doctor and a patient is the key to sometimes curing of very serious diseases. Because if you have confidence in doctor, you have that positive thing coming in your body, and that gives you the will. So I would recommend all of you. It is a very simple book, a very small book. Read whenever you have the time, or you can go through this book, or even the review of this book would be available in different mediums. Go through it and you will really enjoy it. Thank you.